I want to dig into that 90 events a month though. Like that was just like a little thing you dropped in there that is I mean, because I think 90 days a month is different. I mean, I'm trying to think. I actually don't have a good enough understanding of your retail presence, but for Lululemon, it makes sense to have like a ton of events, right? Because all these physical stores and
For
whatever.
sure. Yeah.
Um, so how do you pull that off? Like, what does that actually look like? What are those events?
Yeah. So to your point, and for those kind of tuning in and listening, yeah, it's true. We're not in all the malls. We're not mass. We're not all of those things. We definitely, our retail presence is very, very concentrated in LA, New York,
Yep.
opening up, a few other stores in the US this year, but it's not like casting our net wide. It's casting our net specifically um, to markets of influence and to markets where with some of our like-minded consumers are.
Yep.
But yeah, back to events, we host community-based events. We have something called Club Allo. So if you look it up, it's also on our website. But even if you look up at like the UGC content coming out of Club Allo or the hashtag itself, that's where we host our up to 90 events a month. And on average, it is close to 90 events, and it's community hosted in partnership with us. It's all around the world. So back to what I was saying earlier, in a month, you might have one, like in a day, you might have an event in Israel, you might have one on Zoom that we're hosting, you might have one in person that we're hosting, you might have another community event or retreat that's in Bali, and then next in Turkey, next in Canada, next in, like, it's throughout the world. We have, a part of our community team that I was mentioning earlier that really is responsible for hosting those and ensuring that they, are on brand, but that we're also enabling our hosts, if it's not directly hosted by us, to truly be a representation. So it's someone that is in the Allo family. They might be a yoga teacher, they might be hosting their retreat, or running part of their own business and doing like a retreat, let's say in Bali, but it's part of Allo. So you'll see Allo equipment, it'll be an Allo yoga teacher who's hosting it. We'll lean in with activations, we'll lean in with support, we'll lean in with materials. And so that's truly how we get scale. But it's, again, back to building that community, right? We partner with our community members so that they are branded events and that they are coming from us. But yeah, it takes a lot of time and dedication to run these 90 events a month, and we truly believe in them. And that's just where we're at now. Imagine in like 2 or 3 years it's going to continue to scale.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I think what's interesting about activities like that is that's not an activity that's particularly easy to measure from like a return on investment perspective. Like, how do you measure the value there, right? Like, okay, you sell a few pieces of clothing, right? There's not like that's not why you're doing it. Do you feel like how do you balance that as a marketer in a world in which so many things are measurable, right? That those are the things that tend to get emphasis, but the reality is that often the things that you can't measure are the ones that are the most important. How do you
Yeah.
balance those two types of activities and that, the transparency that we have today as well as the lack of transparency?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it is a debate. There's sometimes two types of marketers that only believe in, um, you know, growth data, or that only believe in like pay to play, and they forget about building a brand. As you're
Hmm.
building a brand, you go back to word of mouth, you go back to, oh, what are you wearing today? Oh my gosh, I'm wearing Aloe. Or, hey, you're wearing Aloe too. How did you get that color drop? It was so hard to get, like at a studio or whatever. Um, Word of mouth and brand building is so, so crucial. And a lot of new D2C brands these days, the ones that kind of like pop up and fizzle out or whatnot, they tend to forget that. They invest everything in hyper growth. It's all about acquisition, retargeting, and they forget about building a brand. Um, I would say to those types of marketers that don't believe in both, right? Like, I'm a data first marketer, and I don't hide that, right? But as you're building a brand, there's ways to track what that looks like. It might be uptick in UGC. It might be, you're creating a brand health study, brand lift study. You're looking at things like, what are inbound requests from some of these celebrities? Is media picking us up organically? In our case, a lot of it, I mean, most of it, all of it is organic. And if you don't invest in brand, if you don't invest in those relationships, and you don't invest in these community events or larger events like Aloe House, or you don't invest in building a community of, let's say, we have clean and green skincare and body care, and it goes beyond just apparel or yoga equipment that we have. We truly are like a full holistic lifestyle brand. If we don't invest in some of those beauty associates or beauty experts, like you're never going to grow and scale. No one's going to recommend you organically. So the way that we break it out is, we track both sides, but we also understand the value in that brand lift and investing in brand. And it's not always going to sure return right away, but for sure, I guarantee, Connor, if you start building like a brand health or brand lift study over that course of the year, you will see that upward traction. You're, becoming a household name doesn't happen by growth or acquisition. It happens by investing in the brand. And so it's longer term. It's back to our conversation of influencer. Is it pay to play, or do I invest in the 2 or 3 year relationship? It's the same thing with a consumer. I don't always want something back from my client. You don't have to convert right away, but come get informed, come learn, come take one of our Zoom classes where we walk you through, I don't know, holistic eating, or it might be, a takeover with Roddy, who's walking us through our doshas, or whatever it is. Like, let us give back to you too. And then you can understand if Aloe is a brand for you.